you only just joined us, we are getting drunk and sorry, this one.
We're trying to cover a few interesting astrophysics facts and biology facts while making some cocktails, albeit very badly, but to science.
To science.
To Mercury.
To Mercury.
Ooh, that tickles.
Yes, that tickles indeed. So, second cocktail.
You've had one.
I had one.
Let's take it slow.
Second shot for the evening is gonna be Venus. So, there's a lot of. Can I have two more?
Sure.
Glasses? So, interesting about Venus is that has almost the same mass as the Earth, is slightly smaller, and but it's truly uninhabitable, not uninhabitable, just inhabitable planet. Sorry, the shock is already affecting me. Inhabitable planet because the pressure is really too high for anything we know of to survive. It's the heat is about 476 Kelvin, which makes one of the hottest places in the solar system, obviously excluded the sun, and there is a constant acid rain, so definitely not a nice place to be. So to represent all those characteristics, we're gonna mix a little bit of Tabasco sauce.
Right, the bottom's going out.
It already looks awful.
Well, this.
Would you like me to give it? Would you like me to give it a shake? Because you're
Yes,
just
shake it.
Shake, 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 shake.
And so we're gonna mix dark rum. Actually, it's spice rum.
And what does the spice rum represent?
The spice
in
rum.
your Venus shot?
The spice rum represent the ground of Venus, which, although there's no volcanism, it tends to melt every few 100 million years, and the surface completely melts because of the pressure and heat, and that is represented by the dark rum. And then we have lime juice that represent the acidity of the atmosphere. Seriously, this is so well taught. Learn a lot.
Can we get the technical team in here? We're having a Tabasco-related issue.
We're having it.
Oh.
It's, I think it's a non-Newtonian fluid like ketchup. But,
Oh. Is that mine with all of that in?
Sure.
The science
I don't know how I feel about this.
We'll find out. So, hopefully we're not gonna die after this, but if we do, we might disappear for like 2 minutes.
Before resurrecting.
Which was
Good luck.
Hold your nose, hold your nose.
That is spicy.
Mm,
My tongue is on fire.
that's really quite nice. So, now, are there anything that could survive on Venus?
Well, some people would argue that there could be, because we have some organisms here on Earth, such as extremophiles, which live at very extremely high temperatures and pressures, and not just microorganisms, I may add. In the volcanic vents at the bottom of the ocean, we do have these weird giant things called Yeti Crabs, which look exactly like what they say, a crab that looks like a Yeti, and they live at extremely high pressures and high temperatures. But you probably wouldn't find them on Venus, because hasn't it obliterated every single probe we sent there?
Yeah, we sent the last probe, I think it was 1978. It was a Russian probe and managed to take 3 pictures before completely melting, and completely destroyed by both the heat and the pressure. So, yeah, it would be most of the probe that we have around at the moment just to map the surface through. I think it's definitely not infrared. Maybe ultraviolet, just to send signal down and acting like a radar, more or less.
But this brings us on to our first biology-themed cocktail, or shots, shall I say, of the evening.
Yeah.
And if we are looking for life somewhere in the solar system, one thing we need is a mechanism of encoding information and passing it on in a reliable format. And here on Earth, that happens in the format of
the DNA.
Yes.
Good.
Exactly.
I'm getting a gold star.
Yes, you can have a gold star for that. Well done. And what we're going to be making is a little concoction called the Rosalind Franklin, named after Rosalind Franklin, who was the first person to discover the structure of DNA. So
we're gonna layer some stuff.
The basic components of DNA are the bases, and they are cytosine, guanine, adenine, and thymine. And they match up together to form base pairs as A and T and C to G.
So,
to represent these, we've got 4 different coloured drinks.
yes. So I'm gonna start.
Very, very complicated. And the idea of putting these 2 flavours together is that in our heads we thought apple sours and limoncello would be quite complementary flavours, like the complementary base pairs. So that kind of worked. I don't know if you can see.
But that layered.
We have a slight green above a slight yellow.
And
now, can you do that again?
I can. I'm gonna. I have mixed. We don't waste.
Oh yes.
So I'm gonna mix the cranberry first. That is there with the vodka.
So we'll have these 2 represent.
There is cranberry next to you. Oops, there might be a little bit too much vodka. Is there such thing?
Exactly.
I was setting up my own joke there.
Just had the Russian punch out.
Yeah, just go for it. Straight up dilute it.
Let's dilute it. Let's dilute it. And then we add.
And that's mixed fantastically.
It's
So-
the blue is. Oops.
It's happy now.
Oh, we have a comment.
Oh.
Layering must be done in order of sweetness / alcoholic strength. Yes, your friend is rocking the sexy professor look.
Thank you.
I think
Wait,
you're
which
talking
one?
about Matt.
All right. Oh no, it layered.
Oh, it worked! Fantastic, well done.
Thank you. Adenosine and
Adenosine and thymine.
yeah.
To Rosalind Franklin.
Rosalind Franklin.
That's very nice, actually.
Yeah.
It washes away the taste of the Tabasco very well.
Thank you.
And now the cytosine and guanine.
Cheers.
Cheers. Guanine blood. Yes, not to be confused with the slang phrase guanin, which means what is going on, is guanine.
In what slang? Anyway.
Don't worry, you're not street like me.
So more layering, and what we're gonna do is earth.
So what are these drinks actually representing now?
Well, is the green of the ocean and the green of the land.
The green of the ocean.
Voila.
Fantastic.
Yes. So, one of the most unique things about planet Earth is there's life. So,
And that's where I come in.
yeah. So let's cheers to that.
To life.
To life.
You can really taste the layers.
Mm.
I think this is what they meant when they said taste the rainbows in the Skittle adverts. So here we have our first full-on cocktail of the evening, which I've decided to call the Stromatolite. And so, for any of those who don't know what a stromatolite is, it is a type of microorganism that lives in colonies of layers, and it builds up over time. And these are photosynthetic bacteria, and as the layers build up, they harden and they end up being like rocks. So stroma meaning layers, and the light part of stromatolite means rock. And you can actually find these fossils
Lithos.
today. Sorry?
Lithos in Greek. But
Lit-
I'm being pretentious just because somebody called you a professor. Look.
Fossilized stromatolites are some examples of some of the earliest life on Earth that came around just over 3 billion years ago. Right. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take a bit of Kahlua and our shot measure. So because early Earth was very rocky, very brown, there's no green on it yet, so we're going for a very earthy coloured drink. And also I just really like Kahlua. we're also going to add just a splash of vodka. And this represents the water vapor that was present in early Earth. Mostly as vapor, might I add, because there was no oceans back in early Earth, and it was the condensation of this water vapor as the Earth cooled that allowed most of the carbon dioxide to be absorbed and for there to be a chance for life to appear. Milk next. Thank you. Go for it. Oh wait. I was actually a barman once. You wouldn't know.
So, if you just
What you don't know is that was fired. Here is the earthy Kahlua goodness of our
I'll try it in the plastic.
of our Stromatolite cocktails, but it's not quite finished yet because we're going to finish it off with a sprig of mint. Because after all, these cyanobacteria, these photosynthesizing bacteria, which were the bacteria that made up these stromatolites, they were the gateway organisms that took in carbon dioxide and sunlight and made the oxygen that we all breathe today. So, it's the start of life.
To the start of life.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That was better than sip.
I love it.
It's alright. I don't like coffee.
I'll relax now. I'm done.
I've been asked to describe how an anti-gravity engine would work.
Yeah.
So, we have a little bit of problem with that. The question was from Stuart, who I thank for the idea, but it just like... The issue with gravity is that, as far as we can tell, gravity is only attractive. So there is no way to have anything resembling anti-gravity. We have the concept just because for most of modern physics, gravity and electromagnetism are being shown to have a lot of parallels. But there is no repulsive gravitational force or gravitational particle. H.G. Wells, he wrote a novel in which there was an anti-gravity material called cavorite, but that is the closest we got to have anything any resembling anti-gravity. So you cannot have an anti-gravity engine, I'm sorry. Okay.
So what does the vodka and the grenadine represent for us today?
Well, Mars is the red planet, and it's... So, actually, fun fact related to Venus as well is the fact that people keep saying, oh, the best place for us to colonize is Mars. Actually, if you go 30 kilometers over the surface of Venus, the temperature is 37 degrees and there's a fair amount of oxygen. So, we should probably build up Cloud City there. I haven't thought if it would work, because I think cream is more dense than everything else, so it's going to be a disaster. But if it works, I'm going to tell you exactly what it represents.
You're not going to tell us what it represents if it works.
I think it was working.
Well, I give it to you. It was a good try.
So, what it represents? It represents the ice caps. Mars has frozen carbon dioxide ice caps that are completely useless to us. But we hope that when in 2030s we go there, we can find water underground. And Curiosity is currently looking for water underground on Mars. So, to Curiosity. Mars is the only planet completely inhabited by robots.
Yes, that's slightly terrifying. That is thick.
So, again, Mars is a prime suspect for possibility of life on another place in the solar system. Would you like to tell us something?
Well, people often wonder what type of life we might find on Mars, and the truth is, we just don't know, because a lot of the ways we think about it is that we model an idea of what life might be like on another planet based on what we see here. And the truth is, it could be something completely different. But the two main forms of life we have on our Earth come in the form of prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Do you know what either of those are? I thought you didn't. So I'm going to tell you.
Thank you.
We have the prokaryotes, which are things like bacteria and archaea, and they are the forms of life where their DNA is not restricted to a nucleus, but is kind of dispersed amongst the plasma of the cell in the form of plasmids and other chunks of DNA. Whereas eukaryotes, which is most of the life on Earth, well, arguably, because there's so much bacteria, but most complex life on Earth is eukaryotic, like us, because our DNA, which is very important, is confined to the nucleus. So, I'm going to make for us tonight a prokaryote and a eukaryote. Could you please help me? We're going to layer our... I can't read my note. Okay, first off...
Notes? There's the notes, it's live TV!
Yes, we've memorized all of this beforehand. We've got... The red represents all the nice gooey stuff inside the cell wall and cell membrane.
Yes.
So, that will go first.
Okay. And then what?
And then on top of that, we're going to layer some apple sours.
Apple sour!
Yes, because a lot of prokaryotes, such as the cyanobacter, which I mentioned form the stromatolites, are photosynthetic because they contain chlorophyll, which is green because plants. Okay, and we also need some Baileys, which I was just being reminded of there. So I'm going to reach across. Now we're just going to intersperse a random little bit of Baileys.
A random little bit of...
A random little bit of Baileys on top to represent the DNA that's kind of scattered within the cells of prokaryotes. Whoops, that was loads. Okay, and now we need to make our eukaryotes. So we need our blue curacao. And there's the grenadine sinking to the bottom below the blue curacao. So again, this just represents the various blood and guts of the eukaryotes.
Sorry, what would be your guess? Where we will discover life beyond Earth and when?
My guess is Europa, and whenever we send a probe to look into the ocean. There is twice as much water on Europa than there is on Earth, and it's very anthropocentric view that water means life, but so far even the weird arsenic-based life form that NASA discovered in Yellowstone needed water. So it's a plausible guess that life needs water. I think that for at least the next 10 years it's unlikely that we see any sign of civilization on an exoplanet. We should be able to start analyzing exoplanet atmosphere in the next 5 years when the James Webb Space Telescope goes online. That should tell us, because if somebody could look at our atmosphere, they would notice there are some gas components that cannot be produced naturally. CFC actually is a good example. Yes, they're killing the ozone, but aliens might say, "Ooh, there are idiots there that really need to use refrigerators," and so that's a possibility. And we could discover indirectly life like that. But if we need to look at life close up, Europa is my best bet. And talking about Europa, which is a satellite of Jupiter, let's move on to Jupiter.
Yes, let's.
So Jupiter is going to be Baileys and a shot of, well, a little drop of grenadine that can go completely wrong. And I just realized that you guys are not going to see it. So the shot of grenadine in it is going to represent the big red spot. It's a hurricane on Jupiter, which is the size of a Earth and a half, which is interesting. And
I had a big red spot once and people called it Jupiter.
no?
As a biologist, to me that just looks like a bit of blood and pus, but if you say Jupiter, I'm on board with that.
So, it's time for you to tell us about life on Europa.
Yes, well, we touched on it a little bit earlier than planned, but yes, Europa, I'm Scooby-Doo. But the thing is, we have a very anthropomorphized, which means human-like, view of thinking about life on other planets, and we assumed for many years that if life was to exist on Mars, it would only be carbon-based. However, with the recent discovery by NASA of an arsenic-based life form, a microorganism in Yellowstone Park in the USA, there is truly a whole lot of possibilities out there of what molecule could be the base of life on other planets. And so, to do this, I'm going to create make a slightly complicated cocktail. We're going to make the Roger, which is what I'm calling this cocktail, named after my favourite fictional alien from American Dad, who's everyone's favourite pansexual mischievous alien. The base of this is going to be a bit of an egg white whiskey sours. With the egg white is there to represent protein because it may be very likely that life on other planets does rely on an information system like DNA that codes for proteins.
Comment from JD Yates. This cocktail appeals to my inner American.
This cocktail appeals to your inner American. I have no idea what is American about this, but thank you.
It's JD.
Oh. And into there goes some cranberries frozen in water, because there's definitely going to be water involved, or most likely going to be water involved in any other life we find, don't you think?
I think so. What are the cranberry representing?
They represent the unexpected, because we just don't know what we're going to find if we find it.
Okay.
Cheers to Roger.
To Roger. I like Roger.
That's not that bad, apart from the salt, which is disgusting.
Yes, we are finally out of biology.
What do you mean, finally?
So, we are moving to Saturn. Well, it's going to be a really simple cocktail. It's a mixture, well, with simple I mean super caloric, because it's going to be Baileys, cream and sugar. When I started thinking of this shot, I thought about, what is an interesting feature about Saturn before, apart from talking about the rings. And there is an hexagonal storm on the south pole of Saturn.
Here's a fun fact which I found out when I was reviewing this cocktail with Dr. Harpinetti, is that a single shot of Baileys has more calories than 2 avocados. So that is why we get fat every Christmas when we chug Baileys like no tomorrow.
Cheers!
Cheers!
Imagine cream and sugar.
That's good.
I know.
What was the planet that comes after Saturn, El?
It's called Uranus.
Uranus.
For I think about 15 years was called George. When William Herschel discovered it, decided to call it after King George III, maybe? King George someone here in England, but didn't call it King George something, he called it George. So they knew there was Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn and George. So the Uranus shot is going to be apple juice, apple sour and curacao, because Uranus is sort of light, is greenish blue. Cheers to Uranus!
To Uranus. Tasty.
That was really nice. We have one shot left and one cocktail left, and we'll have to, say goodbye unless you keep asking us questions. So, after Uranus we go to Neptune. Shot glasses please. The cocktail is 2, and our shots is just blue curacao and vodka, because it's just like, what's the point?
Would you like me to pour?
No, it's fine. On Neptune it rains diamonds. There are carbon compounds in Neptune atmosphere, and the pressure is so high that you form what we believe is some sort of tiny diamonds. It's not like you have perfectly formed big diamonds, you need a lot of heat for that, but you have a little bit of diamonds.
So, I think we toast to the most fabulous planet in the solar system.
Yes.
To Neptune!
To Neptune!
Why does that bring us to?
Why there is no Pluto shot?
Very important.
Well, Pluto is being demoted as from a planet to dwarf planet, because the issue is simple. Either every other object that we discover that have quite big size, like Eris or Sedna or Quar, are considered planets, or they're not. What?
So those of you just joining us, planets are either classed as planets or not. In case you didn't know.
The issue is that the division is quite arbitrary.
Why so?
Why so? It's because we need to find a simple way to distinguish between objects that were clearly planets and stuff that were a little bit weirder. So Eris is bigger than Pluto. Eris is this faraway dwarf planet, which is bigger than Pluto. So people say, "Oh, if Pluto is a planet, why is Eris not a planet?" So they claim that a planet needs to orbit the Sun, needs to have hydrostatic equilibrium, which is fancy terms for being round, and it needs to have cleaned its own orbit. That just means that you shouldn't have any other big objects on its own path.
So, what space science project coming up excites you most?
CERN should be able to understand exactly what is the mysterious particle that they found at 2 sigma. They think it has right handness, which is just weird science talk to say that it decays weirdly in a certain way, and that could be proof of dark matter or weirder physics, and I'm really hoping that it proves there's something really weird and that we don't understand with the universe. Then there is the Juno mission next year to Jupiter, and then there is the James Webb Telescope whenever the Americans decide to pay their half of the bill.
No shade there. But Alf, what is the Hubble Deep Field?
So, thank you for the question. They decide, at a certain point, they decide to point the Hubble Space Telescope to a patch in the sky that had no visible star, no visible galaxies, and they decide, oh, it's just a black dark patch in the sky, we're gonna have Hubble watch there for 10 hours. And you would expect, oh, we're not gonna see anything there, but in reality they saw a lot of galaxy, some of the oldest galaxies in the universe. They form in the first billion years of the universe.
Fascinating.
We have a little bit on lime because who cares now? So this is going to be really loud, but you at home just relax, chat with each other.
And in the meantime, I'll regale you of this really story. I mean, there was that one time that I went to McDonald's, but I wasn't quite on the right. And then, I mean, there was 3 of them. There's not much I could really do when they all there. But that's why I'm not allowed back there anymore. So the Hubble Deep Fields.
The Hubble Ultra Deep Field.
Ultra Deep Field, excuse me. The Hubble Ultra Deep Field. Oh, very nice.
I know. I've run out of science now.
What sci-fi film made to date do you think is probably the most accurate about space travel? Because I know nerds around the world, like us, have a debate every time a sci-fi film comes out about how accurate it is, about any sort of space travel that is depicted in there. But what, in your opinion, is the most accurate sci-fi film?
Should sci-fi even be accurate, being in itself?
Should sci-fi
science
even
fiction?
be accurate?
Thank you for the question from the director. So I don't think sci-fi should be accurate. The good thing about, for example, Star Trek is pushing boundaries, and it was inspiring scientists and engineers to look beyond. Same things with, I don't know, Doctor Who and Star Wars is a little bit more fantasy than sci-fi, but the same concept that we need to think beyond what we have currently. If we want to go for sort of realistic sci-fi, transport-wise, the only thing that comes to mind is 2001 A Space Odyssey. That is a really good depiction, apart from the weird baby event at the end. that is exactly how spectroscopy should happen.
We pretend that didn't happen.
In the same way, Interstellar, before love is the force that transcends space and time,
Yes.
and the journey through until Saturn, was it Saturn or Jupiter? Saturn, I think.
Yes.
It's quite realistic.
If you had to ask me as a biologist what I think is the most realistic film in terms of life on Earth, I would have to say Bridget Jones's Diary, because frankly the struggles that woman goes through, I mean, the struggle is real. When you watch that, you just know it's like, yes, this is what life is like.
Okay, it's been a pleasure to get drunk for you.
Thank you for watching. It's been a great load of fun to do whatever we just did in front of you, and
if on my bio on my Twitter profile there is the link to the Astroholic, that is theastroholic.wordpress.com. If you want to see me actually being sober and talking science, I don't know if you're into that kind of thing.
or if you want to come and find us and follow us or ask us any other science-related questions at a later, more sober date, you can find us at our Twitter handles about at MattJY, which is me, and at Dr. Capinetti.
That is me. Please have a wonderful evening. Drink responsibly, not like us, but do science irresponsibly, because no well-behaved scientist has ever got any recognition.
True that. I will toast to that.
I'll toast to that too. Okay, have a good night and a good weekend.
Stay classy, San Diego.
Yep.